For generations, Americans have been fed a single unifying story: American exceptionalism. It is the belief that the United States is uniquely virtuous, uniquely prosperous, and uniquely free compared to the rest of the world. It sounds inspiring. It sounds great in speeches. And there's more. White evangelicals claim that the United States was founded as a Christian nation through divine providence, making America and Americans even more important on the world stage. As former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright famously said, the United States is the indispensable nation. But when you step outside the bubble of patriotic rhetoric and divine mandates and examine global data, a very different picture emerges. I'm David Tomsic, and this is Clear Signal. Stay to the end and hear my commentary on this particular topic. On metric after metric, from basic education and life expectancy to infrastructure, financial health, and personal safety, the United States isn't leading the developed world. In fact, on many fronts, it's lagging dangerously behind. Today, we're going to take an honest, data-driven look at the gap between the myth of American dominance and the reality of the numbers. Let's start where the future of any nation is built: the classroom. For decades, the U.S. has poured hundreds of billions of dollars into primary and secondary education. Yet, international benchmarks tell a sobering story. According to the OECD's PISA scores, which test 15-year-olds worldwide, the United States consistently sits in the middle of the pack among developed nations. In mathematics, U.S. students trail significantly behind peers in East Asia, such as Singapore, Japan, and South Korea, as well as European nations like Estonia and Switzerland. In science and reading comprehension, performance hovering near the OECD average is often lauded as success. But for a self-proclaimed leader of the free world, average is a glaring failure. Many Americans, such as conservative right-wing evangelicals, challenge history and science, leaning on superstition and conspiracy theories to form their worldview. Now, the issue with education in America isn't a lack of raw funding. It's severe structural inequality, hyper-localized school board politics, and an over-reliance on property taxes that creates vast disparities between wealthy suburbs and underfunded rural or inner-city districts. While other advanced nations standardize high educational quality across the board, the U.S. treats quality education as a zip code lottery. So if education measures intellectual capital, infrastructure measures physical capability. And here the U.S. is running on 20th century fumes. Every few years, the American Society of Civil Engineers issues a report card on the country's infrastructure. Time after time, the nation earns a C- or C grade. Tens of thousands of bridges across the country are structurally deficient. Water systems lose billions of gallons of treated water daily due to aging pipes, and electrical grids frequently fail under extreme weather events. Then there is the mass transit problem. Europe and Asia have interconnected their major cities with high-speed rail systems, traveling over 180 miles per hour, making regional travel clean, efficient, and affordable. The U.S. remains obsessively dependent on cars and underfunded regional highways. Now, many people believe that oil companies and car manufacturers join together to prevent funding for high-speed transportation. But we do have trains. Amtrak's fastest corridors barely touch true high-speed thresholds and are plagued by freight train delays. In major American cities, mass transit systems are often treated as a last resort rather than a primary infrastructure, leaving citizens stranded in endless traffic congestion, while foreign metros operate with automated precision at sub-5-minute intervals. Hey, if this video hits home with you, please subscribe right now and smash that like button. This helps us get the video out to more and more people. Thank you. Now, two of the most stark areas where the United States is truly an outlier are criminal justice and public safety, though not in the way most Americans would hope. First, the U.S. incarcerates a higher percentage of its population than almost any nation on the planet, with over 1.9 million people behind bars. The U.S. incarceration rate dwarfs that of peers like Canada, the U.K., Germany, and Japan. Nations with incarceration rates 5 to 8 times lower. Now, rather than prioritizing rehabilitation, The American criminal justice system operates on punishment and profit, resulting in higher recidivism rates and massive social disruption. Second is gun violence and mass shootings. The U.S. is the only high-income nation where mass shootings are a regular, predictable feature of public life. Firearm homicide rates in the U.S. are exponentially higher than in Western Europe, East Asia, or Australia. American children participate in active shooter drills in elementary school, a phenomenon that is virtually non-existent in the rest of the developed world. To call a society exceptional while its citizens face unmatched levels of gun violence in daily spaces is a profound contradiction. Perhaps the most widespread cultural mantra in the U.S. is, "We're free." It's often stated as if freedom were a unique American invention. You can see it on people's t-shirts everywhere. But when independent global metrics measure freedom, evaluating civil liberties, press freedom, political rights, and personal autonomy, the United States routinely fails to hit the top 10. Indices produced by organizations like Freedom House or the Cato Institute constantly rank nations like Switzerland, New Zealand, Denmark, Ireland, and Norway higher in overall freedom. So what does freedom look like? Is a citizen free if they face medical bankruptcy because health insurance is tied to employment? Is a worker free if they have no federally mandated paid parental leave, no statutory paid vacation time, and can be fired at will without cause? Is an individual free if higher education burdens them with a six-figure debt before their career even starts? In many ways, the American model trades basic economic security for a narrow definition of individual liberty, leaving millions tied to jobs they hate just to retain health care coverage. Now, underpinning this entire system is a culture and economy powered by unsustainable levels of debt across every tier: government, business, and consumer. Government debt. The federal debt has surpassed $40 trillion, driven by decades of unfunded wars. The 2027 defense budget is now going to be over $1.5 trillion. And sweeping tax cuts that disproportionately benefit corporations and the ultra-wealthy. Corporate debt. Cheap credit for years encouraged corporations to indulge in massive stock buybacks, to artificially inflate share prices, rather than investing long-term in capital research or wage growth. Consumer debt. As of right now, American households are carrying $1.26 trillion in credit card debt. That doesn't include auto loans and student loan debt. The average citizen is pushed into a lifestyle of consumption on credit, where a single, unexpected $400 emergency expense would throw nearly half of American adults into financial distress. This isn't prosperity, it's leverage. The illusion of a booming lifestyle is frequently underwritten by borrowing against tomorrow. When you step back, the American story is full of deep contradictions. Healthcare. The U.S. spends more per capita on healthcare than any nation on earth, yet has lower life expectancy, higher maternity mortality rates, and millions of uninsured citizens compared to peer nations with universal coverage. Upward mobility. The American dream promises that anyone can make it to the top through hard work. Yet statistically, mobility metrics show that a child born in poverty in Canada, Denmark, or Germany has a far higher chance of reaching the middle class than a child born in the United States. Work-life balance. The American culture glorifies 60-hour work weeks and burnout, while European counterparts enjoy higher productivity per hour and 4 to 6 weeks of paid vacation and lower stress levels. Acknowledging these facts isn't about hating this country. It's about replacing blind dogma with hard reality. A nation cannot fix its problems if it refuses to admit those problems exist. Real strength doesn't come from chanting that you're number one. It comes from having the humility to look across the globe and see what other nations are doing better and having the courage to change. Now, before I let you go, this is my commentary. I have to talk about the elephant in the room. And that elephant in the room is President Donald Trump. Where do we begin? Trump is an adamant supporter of U.S. exceptionalism. Except the only people he thinks are exceptional are people that blindly support him, not migrants, minorities, or the marginalized. He brags about how great the U.S. military is, while keeping an aircraft carrier at sea for 250 days, with dwindling rations, morale, and patience. And when he was asked if he thought that was too long, he said no. Now, the U.S. military is the most expensive on the planet. As I mentioned, Trump proposed a $1.5 trillion budget for next year. But the war in Iran shows that the U.S. military is still behind the curve. It's geared toward 20th century warfare, not the asymmetric warfare displayed by the Russians right now in Ukraine or the Iranians against us. Trump uses the U.S. military as his own personal imperial conquest machine. He attacked Venezuela and kidnapped its president. And of course, he illegally used the U.S. military to attack Iran, where he ordered the murder of their leaders. But Trump's war is a total disaster. He was outsmarted, outmaneuvered, and outclassed by the Iranians. Now, economically, the U.S. is broke. Many believe another crash of the U.S. economy is right around the corner, a 2008-style crash, helped along by Trump's mindless tariffs, ridiculous tax breaks for the rich, and a foreign conflict that should never have been started. So proudly wave your flags, patriots. Stand tall and smell the smoldering ruins of a country destroyed by malice, racism, and greed. Please subscribe, like, and share the video. And I'll see you next time right here on Clear Signal.